Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Reedsy Novel Sprint preparation event, or prep event, as we like to say for short. My name is Martin. I'm from the team here at Reedsy. I'd like to welcome you to this fantastic session we have planned for you on free writing. We are inviting everyone to come in and empty their minds and allow themselves to be vessels for words that flow freely onto the page. We have a very great guest on here today, who is a member of the team here at Reedsy, as well as a newly minted two-time author. This is her book, Cat, from the Object Lesson series by Bloomsbury. Full alert, our guest. I have yet to read this, but that is on my list for this weekend. It's such a slender volume that I should be able to get through this in no time as well. So, thank you for all joining us here today. We're going to be getting some writing done. So if you are writing on a pad and paper, get that out. If you write in a Word doc or Reedsy Studio, get that out. There'll be an opportunity for us all to get a little bit of writing done. But first of all, my guest is a writer, an author with a PhD in English literature from Brown University. She is the author of How to Adjust to the Dark and the new book, Cat, from Bloomsbury's Object Lessons series. Please welcome Rebecca van Laer. Rebecca, how are you doing?
Very good. Thank you, Martin, for the introduction.
Very welcome. You are currently in upstate New York?
Yes, the Hudson Valley, 90 miles north of New York City, for those of you who use miles.
Well, it's hopefully it's a nice day. Oh, it's one of the cats creeping up behind your shoulder.
Yes, actually, the mirror, this is Milton. So Milton is giving himself a bath. Milton, one of the stars of Cat.
Well, excellent. Little does he know that he is now a star of the printed word.
He has no clue.
Cool. Well, I am going to throw it to you. You've got a presentation going. I'll be behind the scenes, just sort of answering any questions in the comments and reactions. For everyone, just a bit of housekeeping. The slide deck will be available on the Reedsy Live website tomorrow. We'll send a follow-up email so you all have that. There'll be Q&A at the end, so if you have any questions, pop them in the comments and we'll bring them up at the end. Otherwise, yeah, Rebecca, I'll see you later.
Okay, great. Yay! So I'm so excited today to talk about free writing with all of you and how it can benefit your novel sprint in particular, but also your writing practice more generally. And we will also have plenty of time to do free writing. So to put some words on the page that hopefully will help you this November. So I'll start. Martin already introduced me and my work. Just for a little bit more context, I've written one book of fiction that's a novella and one book of nonfiction. So I move between the two genres, and I'll be talking a little bit about how that can actually empower your free writing. If you're against nonfiction, don't worry, this will be helpful. Okay, so first we'll start with a little bit of historical context about free writing. So this technique could be just any writing that you do without a particular goal and in a condensed period of time. But it really stems in the early 20th century from the French surrealists, especially André Breton. So The Magnetic Fields is a book that is an example of work that is entirely free writing. His novel Naja also uses free writing techniques. So the reason why free writing became popular at this particular historical moment was because the idea of the unconscious was becoming something that was publicly discussed and known about. And automatic writing in particular was writing without stopping and doing it just for a set period of time, enough that your unconscious begins to show up on the page and new associations emerge, things that you might not get to if you're just operating strictly within a outline. And this led to some really interesting visual art that I'm sure you're familiar with, these kinds of techniques for the visual, but also some really interesting writing. And even if you don't want to write surrealist literature, you can still tap into this history of automatic or free writing. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how free writing has helped me. It's a big part of how I've worked on all of my books. So, Cat is a book of nonfiction, and it really started with what you might call diarying, really in the Notes app, and having experiences that I felt that I wanted to write about and get them on the page really, really quickly. So, this book began with about 10,000 words in kind of separate notes that were just jotted down, top of mind, things that were happening that had happened that I thought might be part of a book. Then I took a break from that free writing, from that 10,000 words, and I wrote a formal book proposal, which is something that you can do with nonfiction. And that allowed me to take a step back and think about the overall structure of my book, what each chapter would contain, if any of the writing that I had done might fit into it, and also what a satisfying story arc would be. So I was really lucky that I sold my book on proposal, and also really lucky that I had 10,000 words to work from when I had to turn my raw material into my draft due to my publisher 9 months later, which might seem like a condensed period of time to write a book, even a short book. But I had that advantage, and it also meant that I had surprisingly little revision because I kind of had what we might call a zero draft, a vomit draft, a crappy first draft already there. So I could go from that to thinking to a first draft that was a fairly complete full draft, similar to what you see on the page. And again, I know that this is a nonfiction book, but I think that free writing is so helpful for novelists and fiction writers as well. First of all, you all know about the dreaded writer's block, something that can really get in your way in November, but also really any time in life. So when you do free writing, you essentially commit to getting words on the page, regardless of whether or not they're going to end up in the finished product. And it reminds you that you absolutely can write words and sentences and paragraphs, which sometimes is a valuable thing to remember. Can also help you to overcome perfectionism. If you're a person who feels like you can't complete a draft because you're continually revising, either at the sentence level, the paragraph level, or the chapter level, when you free write, you know that nothing that comes out is going to be perfect. You embrace the mess fully right away. It can also be a way to get into a character's head. So I've talked a little bit about free writing from my own experience, but you can also think, I am my main character. I am my protagonist. What are they thinking in this scene, in this moment? How deeply can I get into their emotional state? It's just an opportunity to get in character. And even if you don't need all of that on the page, the better that you know your character, the better that you know the decisions that they will make in response to the obstacles that you lay out throughout your manuscript. And finally, if you reach a point where you're not exactly sure how to push your manuscript forward, where you kind of know that you're moving between Act 1 and Act 2, or between one theme and conflict and another, you can use free writing as a technique to get you across the bridge to the part that you already are confident belongs in the book and that you're going to write. And today we'll do some exercises aimed at many of these things. One more thing, you'll see your own capacity to write 500 or more words in a single session. So if you feel like you're just such a slow writer, it can often really just be perfectionism. And by just practicing typing as much as you can, no matter what comes out, you'll be surprised by how much you generate. And we'll check in on your word count today. Since you're writing in Reedsy Studio, you probably enjoy seeing that word count go up already. And hopefully, if you do this in Studio today, it goes up quite a lot. Okay, so I want to talk about free writing presenting two opportunities more broadly over the course of November. I think that free writing can be a whole way to generate your zero draft. You could spend all of November essentially free writing, which is to say that when you realize on day 10 that you've changed your mind about a character, or you're going to give someone a different backstory, or just something else unexpected happens entirely, you just keep going, and you just write whatever comes to mind on that day and consider that your first draft. If you don't like that, if you already have a structured plan and you kind of want to stick to it, I think free writing is still really helpful as a warm up to the drafting process, to spend some time free writing and getting in the mood and figuring out what your goals are for the day. Okay, so I've talked a lot about what free writing is and made it seem like it could be easy, you just write, but let's talk a little bit more about the practicalities. The number one rule of free writing is you do not stop. If you need a bio break, you need a sip of water, sure, you stop, but otherwise, no stopping at all. That means to put your uncertainty on the page rather than pausing or stepping away from the page. You might be writing in your document, I don't know, or or long lines of dots. That's okay. If you do that over and over again, you're going to eventually shake something else loose in your head, just like this realist said, something from the unconscious that is going to allow you to move in a new forward direction so that you're not just typing, I don't know, for 10 minutes straight. Although if you do that, maybe that's a helpful exercise too, in its own way. So if you're stuck and you just find yourself like really unsure how to move forward, let free association pull you into any other direction that arises, even if it seems off topic for the prompt I've given you, for the story that you want to create. That free association might have something valuable in it. As writers, we're always filtering material from the world and from our minds into our work. So don't be afraid to just start writing about something else. Go off topic. Another idea, if you really aren't sure where to go, once you have a few words or paragraphs on the page, you can always go back up and start writing from an earlier point on the page. To me and to everyone else here, it doesn't matter if you're writing in a continuous scroll. If you want to go back up and expand on something that felt a little bit more promising or that you think you might have more to think about, do that. Okay, one more note. So I've said that I write both fiction and nonfiction. In your free writing, I think that you should feel comfortable to move between the personal and the fictional. So even if you're writing about your novel, you can add personal reflection to it, like, that's not right, I hate that, or that could be good, but what if? Your personal response to your own writing, the process of metacognition and meta writing, can be part of free writing. So if you're stuck in your world building, in your character creation, go back to your personal response to it, go back to personal experience, go back to anything that feels related in the moment and that you could write about, because that's the goal. It's just to get words on the page. All right, so I've given my spiel about free writing, and I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to actually do it. So the first thing that we're going to do is just a simple warm-up exercise. It's a little bit inspired from the Pillow Book, one of the earliest works of literature, which is full of lists. And what we're going to do is to write for 10 minutes about joyful things. So these could be things in your life if you just want to start and get yourself in a positive mood, thinking about things that bring you joy. Or think about your main character. In our novels, we're often putting our characters under a lot of stress, filling their lives with problems, conflict, and worry. But knowing more about their normal world, what gives them pleasure and joy, is just such a valuable thing to have about your character. So, recommendation is to list as many things as you want to, but at any point, if something feels like it's starting to spark a scene, whether again that's in your life or in your main character's life, just go with it. Expansion and contraction is part of free writing, moving between, bullet points and things where you have a little bit more to say. So this will be our first exercise. We will write for 10 minutes. And with that, I will ask Martin to put the timer up on the screen. Okay, I'm going to put myself on mute. There's music up. Let's write. Okay, we've all done some writing. Where did my presentation go, Martin? Thank you. Okay, so after every bit of free writing, and really I think every bit of writing that you do while you are doing your novel sprint, I think it's always helpful to do a little bit of reflection and rereading. So just a couple of questions that I would ask yourself after this writing session. First of all, what's your word count? Feel free to put it in the chat if you already have it. I can't actually see the chat, but I'm cheering you on. Um, and hopefully it makes you feel a little bit empowered, especially since we have 2 more sprints to go. Second, if you were to take a few minutes to reread this, I think it would be helpful to think about what from your free writing you can adapt or dilate, expand on to create a scene of backstory for your character or as something that's part of your normal world. Ooh, 925 words. Okay, thank you, Martin. You're highlighting some of the answers. These are all great and they will vary. Like as you get more used to doing this, you'll find that you can produce more words in a 10-minute session. In the 900 range, that's probably about as high as you'll ever go, though. That's some quick typing. Okay, so definitely refer to the slide deck. Feel free to reflect on this later. Since this was our warm-up exercise, let's not take a long pause. I think we're ready to hop into our next one, and then we'll do a little bit more reflection about our story and characters for that one once we really need to stretch the wrists and fingers after furious typing. Okay, so if you're working in a typical writing template for novel structure, for example, Save the Cat, stating the theme of your novel is often part of it. And even if it's not, some of the prep materials that you'll get through Reedsy for your novel sprint are about creating a pitch for your novel, about starting with a clear idea, not just of the who of the novel, the what happens or the where, but also the why you're telling this story and what its greater thematic resonance is. So with 8 days left until November 1st, I think that this free writing session is a great opportunity to think a little bit more about the thematic impact of your novel. So, free writing session, 10 minutes. Let's go deeper. What do you want readers to learn or take away from your novel on the thematic level? And I also encourage you to add a personal element to this. Why is this important to you as a writer, as a novelist? We're ready for the timer again, Martin. I'll mute myself. time's up. And there's a bell to announce it. I don't have to. Okay, so now that you've done 2 writing sprints, let's take a little bit more time to pause and reflect before the next one. This is such an important one, after all. Okay, so take a look. No, we're staying in the reflection. Okay, so take a look. What's your word count? Did it go up and down compared to your last writing exercise? More importantly, I think it's helpful to go through what you've written, spend a couple of minutes reading it, and see. You've talked a little bit more about what your theme is and what it means to you, maybe going a little bit into your own life. Within the context of the book that you plan to write, do you already have scenes planned that connect to that theme? And do you see the seeds of any scenes in what you've written? So let's just take 3 minutes to read through what we've written, put your word count in the chat if you'd like to share it, and highlight anything in your writing that might be useful to you. And I know that Martin did not prepare a separate 3-minute timer, so I'll have to keep time. Okay, no bell that time. Oh, I'm in a funny fight with this bell, Martin and all. Oh, that's so exciting to have almost as much planned as you do for your other idea after doing some writing sprints. So it's really interesting to do this, I think. You have a goal of writing 50,000 words in 30 days. That's 1,600 words a day. You might only come out of this with 600 words. For some of you, it looks like it might be well over 1,600 words, but it shows what you can do in half an hour. Of course, you're working with prompts, but your novel is kind of an ongoing prompt. Two more tips that are coming to me as I also do some free writing. One is that paragraph breaks are really powerful. That I said that you could just write, I don't know, or but just a line break, moving on and kind of moving on to another idea. It's really helpful for me when I'm free writing. And another thing that is fun is to go with the typo. So a couple typos that I noticed in mine rereading were self-hoop instead of self-help, and health ambivalence instead of healthy ambivalence. So when we're going with the unconscious, noticing what comes up, what comes out wrong can lead you in new directions. Oh yeah, deleted words in the word count. Yeah, deleting words is something that I want to urge you against, even if it's a typo, even if it's completely the wrong word. Just keep going forward. Maybe you have 5 adjectives in a row. That's okay. But yeah, even if it's a low word count, as long as you're generating material that is connecting to scenes, as long as you're generating material that's giving you new ideas, that's sometimes and often all we can really do, moment after moment of that, building up to the first draft. Okay, so we have 17 minutes left theoretically in this live, so let's definitely get in one more sprint. And I want to work on the question, what happens next? So for what happens next, I'm assuming that you actually have at least one scene planned for your novel. It doesn't have to be written, but it has to at least be planned. Something that you know will happen over the span of those 50,000 words. So starting with any scene as your starting point. It could be your opening scene, your normal world. It could be the peak of your conflict. It could be something that you know will happen toward the end. Let's think about what might come right after it if there's a place where you don't have a plan already in your novel. So what could happen next after the scene that you're thinking about to raise the stakes, to reveal character, and to state the theme? So if you already kind of have a scene in mind, then you could start writing it. This is really optional, really free form at this point. Or you can start writing a scene, or you can write about what you want to write about. And I encourage you to move back and forth between those modes as is helpful to you. Let's put up our last 10-minute timer of the day. So this one, what happens next? I think that after you have your feet under you with your novel sprint, it's a really good exercise to turn to kick off any part of the novel. Any day that you need to write, this is something that you could use for one of the three purposes of free writing that I've outlined here, essentially as a warm up, just to start to plan what might be next, to lay down some railroad tracks for the next day of writing. You can also use free writing just as drafting, because when you're drafting your novel, I think that writing as much as possible in sprints is probably going to be the quickest and easiest way to get down 1,600 plus words per day. But there's one final way that you can use free writing that is also helpful, and that's as reflection. So if you complete your day's writing session in terms of the plot of your novel, just spending a few moments in Reedsy Studio, where you can rate your writing day and take notes, or anywhere else, is a really helpful behavioral mechanism to reinforce that you've done great work today and think about what you want to do next. Some also call this parking downhill. So you just kind of know where you are and you're ready to roll down the hill in your next writing day using free writing however it best suits you. Okay, so I will stop sharing my screen now. And for these last few minutes, we'll invite Martin back and invite questions.
Oh, hello. That was great. I hope everyone has been enjoying this. Coffee Create Connect says they were using this as a chance to make notes for the sequel to their upcoming debut novel. Started with zero ideas for where they wanted to take these characters, but now it's flowing easily. I just put down a link in the chat if you want to keep this discussion going, or if you want to have a place for that's good about sort of hanging out during the novel sprint. We have a Discord channel set up just for this. There's an invite link just there and also in the description below. But yeah, we'll stick around here for about a minute or so if there's any sort of questions, but hopefully you found this a useful exercise. While those are coming in, I might as well cover up what's coming next week. I'm doing a presentation on finding time to write. Well, I'll take you through some of Reedsy's planning, tracking, and goals features, just to show you how to use those and give you an idea of a bit of a sneak peek at what the actual interface for the novel sprint is going to look like. And then every week we're going to have a tip and type Tuesday where I'll bring on a guest. We're going to do writing sprints similar to this, as well as a couple of sort of crafty tips along the way there. Joe Freitag from Poetina, Tasmania says, thank you very much for this session here. We have Mariah, thank you. Victoria, thank you. Coffee Create Connect found this fantastic. Thank you all for tuning in for this one. Perhaps the session spoke for itself and there isn't any need. But however, Rebecca is a member of the team here at Reedsy. If you have any questions, you can probably put it any of the places you would put questions, and we'll make sure it gets to her. Winch Annie says, I'm getting stuck due to being indecisive of which of my stories to focus on. I guess, Rebecca, do you ever sort of have like so many things? How do you decide like which one to sort of drop the hammer on?
Yes, I often have this problem where I have kind of several ideas for manuscripts, or maybe even manuscripts that are under progress, and I think I might revise this one or I might start something new. I don't know what to do. I think that the only thing that can guide you is just where your energy is. Like, which one are you most excited about? If you're equally excited about all of them, maybe they belong together in some way. Maybe there's a way to merge the ideas. But otherwise, I think figure out which one calls to you. And if all else fails, flip a coin.
Cool. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a real pleasure sort of spending this afternoon, evening, morning with you all. Remember, Rebecca's book, Cat, from Bloomsbury's Object Lesson series is now available at all good bookshops. If they don't have it, it's a terrible bookshop and you can buy it online. Rebecca, thank you so much. Do you have any final words of wisdom for people about to embark on this wonderful challenge?
I think that you just need to make your expectation that you generate the raw material that is later going to be your first draft. To write this much, it's a wild undertaking. Whatever comes out, comes out, and you can return to it later with clean eyes, but don't get into revision brain, evaluative brain too much. Just think about how you can keep moving forward each day without changing anything from the day before.
Amazing. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all soon. Good day, everyone. Bye.